that feeling when the economic winds shift, right? You glance at the news, maybe see some tightening in your sector, and that little voice in your head whispers, winter's coming.
Mm-hmm.
For many of you, that might feel like the reality right now. You're seeing those pressures firsthand.
Yeah, that's definitely a sentiment we're hearing across the board.
Yeah.
These cycles of expansion and contraction, they're a constant. What's key is how we navigate the contraction periods.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why we're diving deep today. Our focus is Jeb Blount's book, Selling in a Crisis. Now, this isn't just about weathering the storm. Our mission here is to equip you with the mindset and the concrete strategies to not just survive, but to actually gain ground and, thrive in these challenging times.
That proactive approach is really what separates those who just sort of endure a downturn from those who emerge stronger. It's about taking control, making those strategic moves.
And this deep dive, it's tailored specifically for you, the listener, whether you're, gearing up for a critical client interaction, trying to understand the shifting market dynamics, or simply want to be better prepared. We're cutting through the noise.
Yeah, getting to the core.
Delivering the core fundamentals and smart choices that will give you a real edge. No matter your specific area's expertise, this is about actionable insights you can start using today.
Exactly. It's about providing you with practical tools and maybe a shift in perspective that you can immediately apply, get some tangible results.
Right. So what's our roadmap for this deep dive? We're going to explore how to cultivate an unshakable mindset.
Crucial.
The art and science of relentless prospecting when things feel uncertain. The absolute necessity of laser-focused time discipline. How to elevate your selling skills when buyers are more cautious than ever.
Which they definitely are.
And finally, how to safeguard your existing customer relationships and, frankly, your own career in the process. Consider this your essential guide to not just navigating, but winning. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it, starting with that foundation, mindset.
Okay, let's unpack this. Mindset Jeb Blount argues this is absolutely paramount, especially when the going gets tough. It really boils down to focusing on what you can influence.
Right, your sphere of control.
Your actions, your reactions, and crucially, your mental approach. He contrasts this with the sheer waste of energy that comes from just worrying.
It's like trying to steer a boat by yelling at the wind, like you said. All effort, zero progress. Worry can be such a drain, diverting energy from, proactive steps.
And Blount doesn't really pull any punches here. He lays out some brutal truths.
Yeah, he's direct.
The likelihood of things getting tougher, the emergence of clear winners and losers, potential business failures, job losses. It's stark.
It is.
But the crucial pivot is this. Instead of wishing for easier times, channel that energy into making yourself better. As he puts it, grind to shine. What stands out to you about that directness?
Well, I think that directness is important. It avoids a false sense of security. It encourages a realistic look at the challenges. Recognizing those potential difficulties allows for, better preparation, better adaptation.
Then he shares this incredibly impactful story.
Yeah.
About the Japanese internment camp, Amashi, during World War II.
Powerful story.
Despite immense hardship, injustice, many individuals chose not to succumb to bitterness. They used that experience as fuel, really, to achieve remarkable success later on. It makes you think, this idea of finding gratitude, even amidst adversity, seeing it as a potential catalyst.
Yeah, what is the key to that kind of mental resilience? It often comes down to finding meaning, finding purpose, even in awful circumstances. Those individuals, despite their horrific situation, they found ways to support each other, build a future. It highlights our ability to choose our response, to find agency even when it feels like we have none.
And then there's the dig for ponies analogy. Funny image, right?
Yeah.
Picture two kids. One walks into a room full of amazing toys, the other into a room piled high with, horse manure.
Okay.
The kid in the manure room.
Yeah.
He starts digging like crazy, totally convinced there has to be a pony in there somewhere.
Right. It's that active search for opportunity, even when things look bleak.
Exactly. And a key part of that, Blount argues, is deliberately limiting your intake of negative news. He's quite blunt. Turn it off. Put the phone down. Right now.
Well, the rationale makes sense. Constant exposure to negative news can create that sense of helplessness, overwhelm. It clouds your judgment, drains your energy. Limiting it helps protect your mental space so you can focus on action.
He also cautions against that misery loves company trap, gravitating towards complainers.
Easy to fall into.
Instead, he emphasizes investing in yourself, your mind, body, spirit. It's crucial for building that inner strength. And a key point here is setting new goals. When the landscape shifts, those old targets might just not be relevant anymore.
Right.
You need fresh objectives to drive your motivation, your focus. Why is that goal setting so vital in a crisis?
Well, new goals provide a renewed sense of purpose, a direction, especially when the external environment feels so uncertain. They give you something concrete to strive for, channeling your energy instead of just reacting to whatever happens next.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork with mindset. Now let's talk about something absolutely fundamental to sales, especially when the market tightens.
Prospecting.
Ah, yes, the lifeblood.
Blount cuts right to the chase. The more people you talk with, the more you will sell. Simple as that.
Simple, yeah.
And his key point is that even in a crisis, people are still buying. Their priorities might just be different. What's the first hurdle people face with prospecting in a downturn, do you think? Often, I think it's just fear of rejection, or maybe the assumption that, no one's buying right now. Overcoming that initial hesitation and recognizing that needs still exist is crucial just to get started.
Yeah, you have to become, as he says, a relentless, fanatical prospector, because those opportunities aren't going to just magically appear.
Nope, not going to fall in your lap.
It requires consistent, daily effort, being opportunistic everywhere, coffee lines, networking events, even, online interactions. Always be ready to connect. How can someone practically integrate that always-on prospecting?
It really starts with a conscious decision just to be open to opportunities. Carry business cards. Maybe digital ones now have a brief, compelling intro ready. Actively look for connections in different settings. It's about shifting from passive to active.
He uses a great squirrel analogy. A squirrel doesn't just try one way to get the nuts and then give up, right? It tries different angles, persists, adapt.
Finds another branch, yeah.
Which reminds me of the story he shares about Ariana from T-Mobile. Despite initial rejections, Blount saying he was too busy, she followed up persistently, found new ways to add value.
It eventually landed a significant deal, right?
Exactly. What's the key takeaway there from Ariana's persistence?
Well, Ariana's story really highlights the power of thoughtful persistence. It wasn't just about hammering him with calls. It was about finding different angles, demonstrating value over time. It shows that no often just means not right now, or maybe not with that approach.
And here's a really crucial point. Go where the money is.
Sounds obvious, but...
But people miss it. He shares an anecdote about a salesperson during a past downturn who kept focusing on struggling industries while the banking sector was actually booming.
Ouch. Yeah.
It's about identifying where the current opportunities lie, not clinging to past successes. This leads to the idea of a crisis IQP.
Ideal qualified prospect profile.
Exactly. Specifically tailored to the current economic climate.
How would you advise someone listening to start defining their own crisis IQP? What shifts should they look for?
Well, they should be looking at which industries are stable right now, or maybe even growing. What new challenges are businesses facing that your solution can actually address? Where are budget priorities shifting? It's really about understanding the market's evolving needs.
Okay, so how do you actually implement this relentless prospecting effectively? Blount outlines 7 key steps for building effective prospecting sequences. You've got targeted lists, really focusing on that crisis IQ. Communication channels, emphasizing a multi-channel approach. Stepping outside your comfort zone. Don't just hide behind email.
Right.
Cadence, the timing and order of your touches, often starting maybe with a phone call. The number of touches. The overall duration of the sequence, the pace between touches, and crucially, the messaging.
Okay, that's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Out of those 7, which one do you see is most often maybe overlooked or mishandled? Ooh, good question. While they're all important, I often see messaging as a missed opportunity. Salespeople tend to focus on their product, their service, rather than directly addressing the prospect's current challenges and offering, relevant insights.
Absolutely. Messaging needs to resonate with their immediate crisis situation.
Yeah.
Focus on their problems, not just your solutions. Blount gives examples, shifting from, I want to talk about our offerings, to something like, I have some insights that have helped other companies facing similar challenges. That subtle shift, it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Totally. It reframes the conversation. It's not a sales pitch anymore. It's a value proposition. It shows you actually understand their pain points and you're there to help, not just, sell something.
Of course, rejection is part of the game. He has a section titled, When You Hit the Wall of Rejection, Keep Going.
Gotta expect it.
And he points out that objections are actually valuable feedback. They help you refine your approach. He shares a story about a CEO who initially reacted pretty negatively to a cold call, but later agreed to a meeting after a revised message that actually addressed his company's specific situation better. What's the key to reframing rejection like that positively?
I think it's about detaching your personal worth from the outcome of that one interaction. See it as data. What didn't resonate? How can I adjust my message or my approach for the next person? Don't take it personally.
And here's a really practical takeaway. All prospecting objections can be anticipated.
Oh, interesting.
Blount argues you'll likely hear the same core objections over and over, especially in a crisis, which means you can prepare objection turnaround scripts. He gives examples for common ones like spending freeze, just trying to survive, price is too high, no budget.
The usual suspects.
Right. And these aren't about being robotic, but just about having confident, thoughtful responses ready to go. How does preparing those scripts help?
Oh, immensely. It builds confidence, for one, and it allows for a much more natural and persuasive response in the moment. Instead of being caught off guard, you can address the concern directly and then, pivot back to the value you offer.
Finally, on prospecting, he emphasizes the power of consistency, doing a little bit every single day, that compound interest effect.
Small efforts add up.
Even small, regular efforts accumulate significantly over time. And the one more call philosophy, pushing past fatigue to make that extra contact. I remember early in my career, how many times that one more call actually led to something, a breakthrough.
Yeah, that consistent effort ensures a steady flow of opportunities, doesn't it? And that extra push, that can often be the difference between just a good day and a really great day.
All right, we've tackled mindset. We've talked about keeping that pipeline full. Now let's move on to something that underpins all of this, time discipline.
Ah, the elusive time management.
Well, yeah, and in a crisis, when every resource is stretched thin, time is arguably your most valuable asset. Blount stresses the importance of fiercely protecting your golden hours.
Prime selling time.
Exactly. Protecting it from all the non-revenue generating activities and distractions that can just eat up your day. Why is that protection so critical during a downturn?
Because you likely have fewer opportunities and probably increased competition. Every minute spent on non-selling stuff is a minute you could have been engaging with a prospect or advancing a deal. It's about maximizing your direct impact on revenue. Simple as that.
He challenges that common saying of work smarter, not harder. In a crisis, he argues you need to work harder, longer, and smarter.
It's not either.
It's a combination. You can't expect to navigate a downturn by putting in less effort. It's about that extra dedication, those additional hours. But crucially, also being strategic about where you focus that energy.
That's a vital distinction. Efficiency is important, sure, but it doesn't replace the need for putting in the necessary work, especially when you're facing bigger challenges.
Blount states it plainly. You cannot manage time, but you can manage yourself. And the choices you make about how you invest that time. His mantra is own it. Taking full responsibility for your schedule, blocking out time for key activities, and being pretty ruthless about saying no to distractions. What are some practical ways someone listening can own their time more effectively?
Well, a good start is just auditing how you currently spend your time. Be honest about it, identify the time wasters, and then proactively schedule your most important tasks, like prospecting, right into your golden hours. Learn to prioritize, maybe delegate where possible.
He introduces the 3 choices for your time. Trivial activities, minimal value,
Checking email constantly.
important activities that keep things running but don't directly drive revenue, and then impactful activities.
The money-making activity.
The ones that directly contribute to generating pipeline, closing deals. The overwhelming focus, he argues, needs to be on those impactful activities. He even mentions the law of triviality.
Parkinson's law of triviality, yeah, we get bogged down in the unimportant stuff.
Exactly, and neglect the core tasks that truly move the needle. How can someone distinguish between these 3 types in their own work?
Trivial activities are often reactive. They don't really contribute to your main goals. Important activities are necessary for, say, maintenance, but don't directly generate new business. Impactful activities are those that directly lead to new prospects, advanced deals, and ultimately revenue. Focus on the connection to your core sales objectives. Is this getting me closer to a sale?
And then there's the classic eat the frog principle.
Love that one.
Tackle the most challenging task, often prospecting first thing in the morning. Get it done before the day's distractions inevitably start creeping in. Why is that so effective, tackling the hard stuff first?
It just builds momentum.
Yeah.
And it reduces procrastination. By getting the hardest thing out of the way, the rest of your day often feels, well, easier, and you avoid that mental drain of worrying about it hanging over you all day.
Finally, he discusses the power of leverage high-intensity activity sprints and strategic time blocking.
Focused work bursts.
Yeah, he references research on the significant time lost to distractions and how long it takes to actually regain focus. It can be substantial chunks of our day.
Oh, easily 20 minutes or more sometimes.
Time blocking, dedicating specific blocks of time to single activities, no multitasking. It can dramatically boost productivity. Our brains, he points out, aren't really wired for effectively juggling multiple complex tasks simultaneously. What's a practical tip for someone new to time blocking?
Start small. Don't try to block your entire day immediately. Choose just one or two key activities you want to focus on, block out dedicated time for them in your calendar, maybe an hour for prospecting, then be really strict about minimizing distractions during those blocks. Turn off notifications, then, gradually expand as you get comfortable with it.
Okay, so we're mastering our time. Now, let's delve into the core of what we do in sales.
Yeah.
Actually selling. Blount cautions strongly against relying solely on charm. Don't bring charm to a gunfight.
Hey, that's a good line.
When buyers are more risk-averse, laser-focused on value, a winning personality alone just won't cut it. He emphasizes that in a crisis, how you sell matters far more than what you sell. What does he mean by that distinction?
It means that building trust, really understanding needs deeply, and providing a clear path to value. Those things become more critical than just having a great product or service on paper. The process, the relationship, they become paramount.
He reiterates, it's the sales process, stupid. Stressing the critical importance of adhering to a systematic sales process, prospecting, qualifying, discovery, closing, etc., especially when that margin for error just shrinks.
No room for sloppy selling.
Taking shortcuts can lead to wasted time, lost deals. Why is a consistent process even more important during challenging times?
Well, a well-defined process ensures you're covering all the essential steps, not missing crucial information or opportunities. Particularly when buyers are more cautious, have higher expectations, it provides a framework for effective engagement, keeps you on track.
This leads directly to qualify better. In a crisis, you simply cannot afford to waste time on deals with a low probability of closing.
Amen to that.
Desperation might tempt you to chase unqualified prospects, but that's just a drain on your limited resources. He breaks qualification down into 3 key areas: technical fit, stakeholder alignment, and overall business fit. It's not just about whether they can buy.
But whether they should buy from you now.
Yeah, exactly. How can our listeners sharpen their qualification skills in the current climate?
They need to ask tougher, more direct questions up front. Assess not just the need, but the urgency, the ability to act. Focus on understanding their critical priorities and where your solution truly aligns with those priorities.
Dealing effectively with decision makers is also crucial. Blount advises against that direct, often ineffective question, are you the decision maker?
Yeah, that rarely works well.
Because people might be hesitant to just say no. Instead, he suggests focusing on understanding the buying process. Ask questions like, could you walk me through how decisions like this are typically made here?
Process-oriented questions.
He also points out, importantly, that in a crisis, decision-making authority often gets elevated within companies. So the person you normally deal with might not have the final say anymore. What's the strategy behind those more indirect questions?
They let you gather intel about the decision-making process, identify the key influencers without putting the individual on the spot or, potentially alienating them. Understanding the process helps you navigate the org structure more effectively.
To keep deals moving forward, he emphasizes the importance of advance with micro-commitments.
Small steps.
Small, low-risk agreements that maintain momentum and help overcome buyer hesitation about making big changes. His rule is clear. Never end a sales interaction without a firm, agreed-upon next step. In the calendar.
Gotta lock it down. Why are those small commitments so powerful?
Well, they build incremental momentum, right? And they reduce the perceived risk for the buyer. Each small yes makes it psychologically easier for them to move towards a larger commitment down the line.
Makes sense.
Even after experiencing losses, which will happen, it's vital to keep the faith in your sales process. Avoid that temptation to resort to ineffective shortcuts out of desperation.
Right. Maintain belief in the fundamentals. Learn from the setbacks, sure, but stick to what works. It's crucial for long-term success, especially when things are tough.
Discover better becomes absolutely paramount in a crisis. Blount argues you should dedicate at least 80% of your meeting time to truly understanding the prospect's needs and challenges.
80%? That's a lot.
It is. Effective discovery is about challenging their current thinking, uncovering their desired outcomes, and building a strong foundation of trust. Superficial discovery just leaves generic pitches that won't resonate when buyers are extra cautious. What are the key elements of truly effective discovery?
Well, it involves asking insightful, open-ended questions, not just yes/no. Actively listening to the responses, probing deeper to understand the underlying issues, the why behind the what, and then summarizing your understanding to make sure you're aligned with the prospect.
He stresses that emotional experience matters. How the stakeholder feels throughout the whole decision-making journey is a significant predictor of the final outcome.
Interesting. Feelings matter.
Yeah, he outlines 5 key questions stakeholders subconsciously ask themselves about you. Do I like you? Do you listen to me? Do you make me feel important? Do you understand me and my problems? And, crucially, do I trust and believe you? How can a salesperson consciously address those emotional needs?
By focusing on building genuine rapport, demonstrating empathy, actively listening, like we said, validating their concerns, even if you can't solve them all, and just consistently acting with integrity. It's about creating a positive, trusting interaction, not just a transaction.
And the cornerstone of building that emotional connection, listen better.
Seems simple, but it's hard.
It involves preparing thoughtful questions beforehand, actively focusing on understanding their perspective, and resisting that urge to jump in with your solutions too early. Pay close attention to their language, their stories, the underlying challenges they're facing. What's a practical technique for becoming a better listener?
Practice active listening techniques. Things like paraphrasing what you hear. So if I understand correctly, you're saying, ask clarifying questions, maintain eye contact, show you're engaged, and really focus fully on the speaker. Avoid mentally formulating your response while they're still talking. Just listen.
You need to sell outcomes, not just features.
Benefits, results.
Clearly articulate the personal, emotional, and business results that the stakeholder can expect. Use clear metrics whenever possible. Keep your explanations concise. Complexity can create confusion and hesitation. How can you effectively translate product features into tangible outcomes for the buyer?
Focus on the so what. For every feature, ask yourself, so what does this actually do for the client? Explain the specific benefit it provides, and quantify that benefit if you can. Connect it directly back to the prospect's stated needs and desired outcomes. Make it relevant to them.
Finally, to close better, Blount emphasizes it all comes back to the fundamentals we've been talking about. Effective qualification, thorough discovery, building trust.
No magic bullet.
There's no secret closing trick. Closing is just a natural progression of those micro commitments we discussed. Stop overthinking objections right at the close, and instead, proactively address potential concerns earlier in the discovery process.
Get them out in the open sooner.
Exactly. And when you do encounter decision deferral, he provides a strategy. Relate to their situation, isolate the core issue, prioritize the problem, clarify their concerns, minimize the perceived risk, and then ask for the commitment again.
A structured approach.
And throughout the entire sales process, remember to control your emotions. The person who maintains emotional control often has the upper hand. Aim for that state of relaxed, assertive confidence. Why is emotional control so important in sales, especially during a crisis?
Because fear or desperation or insecurity, those things can cloud your judgment. And worse, they often come across to the buyer, undermining trust and confidence. A calm, assertive demeanor projects competence and stability, which is exactly what buyers are looking for when things feel uncertain.
All right, we've covered how to sell better. Now let's shift our focus to your existing customers. Blount dedicates an important section to protect your turf.
Can't forget the current base.
No, he warns against complacency, taking your current clients for granted. Especially in a crisis when they might be reevaluating all their partnerships. You need to proactively manage your accounts with regular formal reviews and well-defined retention plans. What's the biggest risk of neglecting existing customers during a downturn?
Increased churn. Simple as that. Competitors might be more aggressive. Customers might be looking for ways to cut costs. Neglecting your current relationships just makes them vulnerable. Low-hanging fruit for someone else.
Being highly responsive to customer issues, no matter how small they seem, is absolutely crucial for retention. He outlines how to develop account retention plans by categorizing your accounts based on risk, red, yellow, green.
Like a traffic light system.
Exactly. and using a 9-box retention risk profile that considers factors like their satisfaction with your service, the quality of your relationship, and also the availability of alternative solutions. Can you briefly explain how someone might use that 9-box framework?
Sure. Imagine a 3 by 3 grid. One axis could be their satisfaction or your service quality, high, medium, low. The other axis could be the strength of your relationship, strong, neutral, weak. And then you sort of overlay a third dimension, which is the perceived availability and attractiveness of alternatives.
Good.
By plotting your accounts on this grid, you can quickly identify the high-risk ones. Maybe low satisfaction, weak relationship, lots of alternatives available. Those are your red accounts, and you need to prioritize your retention efforts there immediately.
Makes sense. You also need to be proactive in protecting your prices. Become a calm, trusted advisor. Truly understand your customer's perspective on value, clearly articulate the benefits they receive, and make the relationship personal.
Value over just price.
And finally, be consistently proactive by anticipating potential customer issues and bringing solutions to the table before they become problems. How does being proactive strengthen those relationships?
Oh, it demonstrates your commitment to their success. It positions you as a real partner, not just a vendor reacting to fires. It builds tremendous trust and loyalty, making them much less likely to even consider looking at alternatives.
All right, last but certainly not least, let's talk about safeguarding your own career during a crisis. Blount starts with a firm piece of advice. Don't complain.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. But he argues it brings down your own morale, stresses out your boss, and can even be used against you later. Instead, focus on cultivating an attitude of gratitude. Why is complaining so detrimental, especially in a tough work environment?
Well, it just creates a negative atmosphere, doesn't it? It undermines team morale, and it can make you appear like you're not part of the solution, maybe even part of the problem. Gratitude, on the other hand, fosters a more positive, resilient mindset, both for you and those around you.
To protect your job, you need to strive to be indispensable. This means being consistently productive, delivering high-quality work, and proactively seeking ways to add value to the company.
Make yourself hard to replace.
Exactly. He even lists common reasons why people get let go, things like poor performance, low productivity, losing key accounts, making excuses, and, yes, excessive complaining. What are some concrete ways someone can make themselves more indispensable?
By consistently exceeding expectations in your core responsibilities, for starters. Taking initiative on important projects. Proactively identifying and maybe even solving problems for the company, not just waiting to be told. It's really about demonstrating your value clearly and consistently.
He encourages listeners to go the extra mile in areas where mediocrity is often common, things like diligent follow-up, proactively adding value beyond just the basic requirements, unwavering persistence. He famously says, there are no traffic jams on the extra mile.
Love that quote.
What's the impact of consistently going above and beyond?
Well, it just sets you apart from your peers, plain and simple. It builds a strong reputation, demonstrates a level of commitment that's highly valued, especially when times are challenging and companies are looking closely at performance.
You need to actively outperform the dip by consistently executing those fundamental selling principles we've discussed all through this dive and focusing your energy on the aspects you can control.
Right, back to the fundamentals. That consistent execution of core skills is the key. It's how you not just survive a downturn, but potentially even thrive while others might be struggling.
And finally, be bold. See the crisis not just as a threat, but actually as an opportunity to accelerate while others are maybe slowing down, hesitating.
Seize the moment.
This requires letting go of outdated approaches, adapting to the shifting motivations and priorities of buyers. What does it practically mean to be bold in this context?
I think it means being willing to try new approaches, maybe test different messaging or channels, to take calculated risks where appropriate, and to really seize opportunities that others might be hesitant to pursue because they're focused on playing defense. It's about adapting quickly and confidently to the changing landscape.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Jeb Blount's invaluable insights, the central message really resonates powerfully, doesn't it? Economic downturns, crises, they're an inevitable part of the cycle.
Yep, they'll happen.
But your response to them, that's the ultimate determinant of your success. It's that unwavering commitment to the fundamentals of selling, coupled with a resilient, proactive, growth-oriented mindset. That's what will empower you to not just navigate these volatile times,
But to emerge stronger, more successful than before.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that while external factors are outside of your control, your internal response, your mindset, your actions, those are entirely within your power. And those are the most potent tools you possess.
And for your actionable next step, I encourage you, listening right now, identify just one or two key strategies that really resonated with you during our discussion today, and commit to implementing them immediately.
Don't waste.
Maybe it's dedicating that specific block of time for daily prospecting, or perhaps it's crafting those objection turnaround scripts. Take a moment right now. What's one concrete action you can take today based on what we've explored?
That immediate application of knowledge is so crucial. It transforms insights into tangible results, and it builds momentum for sustained action, makes it real. Finally, a thought-provoking question to leave you with. Consider the unique value that you bring to the table, especially in these challenging times. How can you truly embrace your capabilities, trust your inherent strengths that Jeb Blount mentions, and act with bold confidence, knowing the essential role you play in driving success, even when that contribution might sometimes feel, overlooked?
Good question to ponder.
Jeb Blount's work offers a really comprehensive roadmap for navigating these complexities, and there's certainly much more depth to explore in his book if you found these insights valuable today and want to delve deeper.